So today I'll be talking about data democratization because this is also a topic for me that keeps me up at night, and natural language interfaces, which is really part of my background as a computer scientist with an AI and natural language processing background, and how we can actually combine both, one to achieve the other, right? So my name is JP. I'm originally from Brazil. 5 years ago, I co-founded Veezoo together with my brother, Marcus, and a colleague from ETH, Tilhau, ETH, the university which I studied, and with the mission to democratize the access to information and using natural language processing. Now, we've come a long way, and today I'm going to show you Veezoo, but first I want to talk a bit about data democratization itself and the path towards data democratization. Now, the way I see it, there's some kind of data maturity stages, right? So, and of course, a lot of companies, they're not in a specific stage, but there's a bit of a gradient there. So the three stages that I usually have in mind are the data anarchy, data aristocracy, and the data democracy, right? Data democracy being this final stage, utopian stage of where everyone can find information that they want and everything is beautiful. So let's start first with the data anarchy state. Well, I think this is a very common state, and especially among startups. If you're looking on the data side, you're talking about data spread across different systems in silos. Main tool to analyze data is Excel or maybe Google Sheets. Everything is a spreadsheet. Maybe you can create some visualizations there if you know how. Sometimes they're offline. They have different versions. Sometimes not. Sometimes they're just in the cloud and everything is a bit better. From the organizational side, things are very departmental, right? So you have different departments. Within the department, they are speaking the same language. But usually across the organization, people report different numbers for the same metrics. They cannot agree on the shared language. So that's really a stage which I call then the data anarchy, right? Now, the next step usually is, okay, so this is not good. Let's centralize. And this is what I call the data aristocracy, which is from the data side, you centralize things, you create definitions, you put them in a data warehouse, maybe already using some modern data stack, dbt, Snowflake, and you have there everything in one central database. Great. Now the tool of choice becomes more the traditional BI reports. Instead of spreadsheets, everything becomes a report, right? Or maybe it's a dashboard. You ask something and people want to provide you with information, they create a report, or maybe you need to find where the answer is in one of the jungle of reports that you have already created. And even if it's going to be used only once and end up rotting, right? And from the organizational side, now the access to information is more centralized. You have sometimes what people call reporting team, which is the primary point where the requests come in. These are skilled people that know SQL, and they will provide you with information to it. But after a while, this can degenerate and become this data breadline, where people are waiting for their answers. And in fact, what is instituted there is some kind of curiosity tax, where curiosity is penalized because you need to wait to get the answer. So maybe you won't even ask the question in the first place, right? So this is also not great. So how can we move from data aristocracy to something better? What is the next stage? The next stage would be this data democracy, right? So from the data side, well, you have the data warehouse. We still want to keep using it and we want to have governance on top of it, but we want to evolve it based on users' needs, right? We want to understand what the users are looking for and prioritize them accordingly, not just upfront top-down requirements. From the tool side, yes, you will have your standard dashboards, But instead of creating always a new report, you want to empower your people to be able to find the information that they need when they need it, right? And this is usually through ad hoc interfaces. From organizational side, it becomes more decentralized, where people are finding the information that they need, but still with governance, right? So the reporting team becomes more of a data team. They're focused more on curating data instead of providing one-off reports. So now, what are common kinds of, what is keeping us from reaching that? From one side, there is some kind of resistance to data democracy. One common one, famous, I think you've all known this, and not only for data democracy, but in general, for any kind of data project, is data quality. Oh no, data is not ready. Let's clean first the CRM before we can do anything, right? And my opinion, which may be a bit not the most popular opinion, is, well, I think we should stop, complaining about data quality, and really try to make data as it is already useful. And by making data useful, people will realize that they need to improve the data quality. People will naturally, this happened also inside our company, by making the CRM data more accessible and generating insights from it, people get more motivated to also capture data correctly and so on. So I think it should not be something hindering going the next step. On the other hand, there's also data literacy, right? Which is also, users don't know the data. They won't know how to interpret results. Now, I don't think they should become data scientists, right? And I don't think as well that we should make sure that they are already perfect and know everything before they get access to it. Because if you don't give them, again, the same story here, if you don't give them something to explore, something to get value out of, there's no motivation to actually learn. So you need to train, need to help people find what are the right questions to ask, how should they improve results, what are averages, things like that. But ease of access, incentivizing curiosity is very important to become more data literate inside the company. Okay, so these are the resistance that are usually there on the organizational side. Now, still from the tool side, self-service BI, the promise of self-service BI, still adopted at a rate of just 54%, right? So I think this is a very low number, and usually they're adopted exactly by people that are already more technically skilled. And sometimes they are even disincentivized to use self-service. And when we started Veezoo, we started with actually a question. What if every information that you would want from the data could be as easily accessible as just asking for it? What if, you could just ask? And I know this is a very, long-term dream. You all are from the data side, so you know the challenges that come with it. But still, there are a lot of stuff we can already do, right? And that's what kept us going, one question at a time, improving our product to bring access to information more easily to people with no technical skills. And that's how we came up with Veezoo. So now I'm going to show you a demo of Veezoo. And so we can explore together some data. So this is how Veezoo looks like. You can see here, you see first dashboard with just your most important KPIs. Here you have an input bar where you can ask questions, and already with some suggestions of which questions you can ask. Now, just to give you a bit of context, this is a more standard kind of data. You have customers. In this case, it's an insurance. So you have customers who have their policies. We have the transactions, the customers. We have the birth dates. Kind of like CRM kind of data, but for insurance. Now, let's say Bob here He's a manager. He's in insurance agency, and he takes a look at his KPIs. And one day he takes a look at here, written premium with household. It doesn't look good. It's falling, right? So now he won't just say, hey, okay, we have a problem. That's it. He will actually investigate further. So let's take a look at this, and let's first break down by employee, right? So it's not just about just asking questions. You can also interact with clicks to make it the most intuitive way. So you see here now, compared to the previous year, 2021 compared to 2020, how this written premium with household has for each employee, how it was. And we see here, okay, there's this guy, Mateo, last year, 4,600. This year is 49. Okay, now let's talk let's take a look at Mateo a bit further, right? So we're gonna follow up on that. We're gonna say just Mateo, and we want to do it by like channel, right? To see how it's doing cross channels. So we can see very fast that, well, last year he was counting a lot on his supplier for getting a written premium, intermediary, and this year suddenly dropped. Now Bob thinks, okay, that's a problem, right? Let's talk to Mateo. So he gets Mateo on a meeting one-to-one, and Mateo says, yes, I was dependent on this guy, and I don't have this supplier anymore, and that's a big issue. And also because my customers, they're already very old, and old customers, they don't buy household insurance anymore. So it's really a problem of my portfolio. They're only old customers. So Bob is like, okay, yeah, let's take a look at that. So how old are customers on average per employee? So we can just ask like this, and we'll see here for each of the employees what the average age of the customers are. So Mateo is right around there. There's nothing really special. It's 50. So Mateo looks at this and says, well, actually, yeah, maybe they're like 50, but they're anyway old. If you're looking just at the 20 to 30 years old customers, I don't have that many. Okay, so let's take a look at that. How many customers does each employee have between, let's say, 20 and 30 years? Okay. So while Veezoo is thinking, number of customer per employee, age between 20 and 30. And let's see where Mateo is. Oh, he's the third one there. So he has 238 customers between 20 and 30, right? Okay, so Mateo is still thinking, yeah, but they all have household insurance already. So I cannot sell them. I mean, I may have all these clients, but they all have it already. So Bob just ask without household. You can just follow up with that and see here, customer has no household policy. Still, there are 131, right? So that's almost half, more than half of those. So Mateo gives up and say, okay, yeah, so let's start contacting them. Let's take a look at these customers. We get here a list of the 131 customers. And for Mateo, it's like, okay, well, where do I start? These are 131. I'm not going to just call every single one of them. It's just not going to work. So let's maybe take a look at, yeah, only customers with birthday this week. So you get a suggestion here from Veezoo, and so that we can find like maybe there are a couple of them that we can take a look at. Let's see. So in this case, from all those, we have 3 that have birthday this week. One of them has customer value A, which is good. It seems like a good customer. Female, well, she's from 93. She's going to turn 28. Maybe, maybe Corona wouldn't be here. Maybe we could even visit her. Let's take a look where she actually stays. That's in Zurich. It's great. It's nearby. Now, Mateo can just easily contact her, maybe send her a gift card or give a call, congratulate on her birthday, and talk about insurance. After all, that's what everyone wants to talk about during their birthday. So this is, you know, a little example here about how people are, how we see people interacting with data in a different way, and how actually, you know, our customers, our biggest customers, AXA, how they're actually doing this on every single day. So we don't have that much time, but I will continue with just quickly my presentation to give you a bit more context about Veezoo. Maybe we can even understand a bit how it works. Let's see. So summary, you know, Veezoo is a data analytics solution that speaks your language, right? We don't want people to learn how to use it. The system should adapt to how you are looking for information. It speaks English, German, French, and Italian. We're a Swiss startup, therefore we need to have all these languages. It always provides you with a beautiful visualization. We don't want you to be spending time, okay, putting this on the x-axis, on the y-axis, put this as, you know, it should just give you the information in the most suitable way. And with guidance, right? So you always see the next question to ask based on what other people have asked. And finally, we are also, you know, offering a way for you to embed Veezoo into your own product to allow your customers, your users, to dive deep into your data, right? Maybe you have already some dashboard, some analytics, and if you actually want to give them more access, you know, Veezoo is the right solution for that. So quickly, let's see how we can go about it. But just quickly give you an idea of how Veezoo works. So here we have this knowledge graph of all the data about insurance, customers, contacts, policies, and it's connecting everything together. So when you ask a question like, which young clients own a BMW and don't have a legal protection policy? What Veezoo does is first it tries to recognize what are the most important concepts in the question, right? For each of these concepts, there's a way to understand it. So young could be a customer segment, young and professionals, or it could be age below a certain value. Or maybe you don't have age computed, but you have the birth date, so you need to compute it on the birth date. Or maybe it's a specific insurance, it's called Young 2.0. Clients, you could have the CRM client, the accounting client, the contract client. And obviously there's some business logic to it. You should only check the active clients, right? So because we may have deleted clients, so we need to teach Veezoo that. On a BMW, well, this means that the customer has an active policy for a vehicle whose model name contains the word BMW. And by the way, there's this field called is owner that you need to set as well. And finally, for legal protection, don't have a legal protection, you want to check all the policies and make sure that none of them is legal for legal protection. So you need a way for you to explain business logic, but also deal with this ambiguity. And what Veezoo does, it combines these different ways and creates these interpretations of how the question could be understood. We have then a machine learning model that gives a score to each of these ways of understanding the question, and it picks what it believes is the right one, and then generates a sequence to it, right? So in this case here, you can see the customer age below 30. There's some subquery here, BMW, and so on. So that's very briefly how Veezoo works. At AXA, it's being used. We have over thousands of users there. They're using it on a daily basis, asking thousands of questions every day. And it's very interesting to see how businesses usually underestimate the amount of questions that employees would ask, right? Yes, so that was hope it was not too rushed. But if you have any questions, if you're interested in trying Veezoo out, you can go to our website, veezoo.com, go for a free trial, upload an Excel, try it out. Or if you're interested in an embedded solution, just talk to us. We're looking for partners there. And yeah, feel free to ask any questions now as well.
So I thought it was an awesome demo, Joao.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it. Really interesting product, by the way.
For the demo.
Really impressed. I have a question maybe to kick it off. how important is the knowledge graph? And yeah, maybe a follow-up to that, like, does that resemble exactly the data warehouse, or do you still have to do some fine-tuning in between to make sure that the knowledge graph is generated?
Yeah, so yeah, the second demo would have been, if I would have had time, but that for some other time, how to actually import it. It's the knowledge graph, is when you connect it, Veezoo already tries to create it, tries to understand the concepts. Oh, this is a customer, this is a country, and so on. And just to briefly, maybe just briefly show you behind the scenes, I'm just going to log into a different user. But we're kind of something between a looker and and a natural language interface. So it's always writing SQL. Just 1 second. It's always writing SQL, and you can actually find concepts in Veezoo itself. Oops, no, it's the wrong one. Yeah, I think it won't have. But basically, you can, you write SQL there, and you can configure it. And if you have something like, okay, a bad order, let's say you have orders and you have profit, and you want to say an order means it's bad, you can say, okay, well, it should be lower than 0, for instance, right? Okay. So you can build on top of it, and yeah, so that's with Studio. Veezoo Studio allows you to do that.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah. So kind of the graph helps you out build the SQL, but the SQL is always going to be run on top of the warehouse, right?
Exactly,
yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah, perfect. Really interesting product, by the way.
Yeah. I have a question, but if anybody watching this wants to ask a question, feel free to write it in the chat. My question is, as somebody that writes SQL, sometimes some things that are very simple to ask are super difficult to code. Were there some particular type of queries that were super difficult to implement that you could just maybe share?
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes, sometimes things, they like you start understanding a bit more like natural language, how much like the intricacies of it. Like for instance, even something simple as customers with most orders, you actually mean customers that well, first of all, do you want to see just one customer, right? Or maybe if there are multiple ones, you want to see all of them that have the highest number of orders, right? So that's something very simple, but it's still, you see that there is a bit of extra logic there. But I think, one thing that we are still working, improving on, and it's always with averages, right? So people can ask some kinds of averages, but knowing what exactly you're averaging over, this can be very tricky sometimes with natural language. And we're, still finding the best ways for you to, when you ask a question, maybe, go back and forth and to explain what you're looking for, right? Yeah, so these are some examples there. Or, people love to ask best, best customer, best this, right? And we have now ways on some heuristics to try to understand, okay, what is the best customer? But at the same time, we allow the user to specify, okay, usually, we want to optimize that. So you can say the default order is this and that. So, which makes it more natural for users.
Yeah, because if you just say best customer, but you don't specify the criteria, then it's like, okay, according to what?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, but that's a really big question as well. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's quite incredible. Like, people, when you give them a natural language interface, people will just write what they're looking for, right? And this is can be very interesting because it gives you, it's differently than a BI, normal traditional BI tool, where you are just going with your mouse looking for stuff. You're actually expressing what you're looking for. So we use this to inform the data team about what they should be prioritizing, right? So if a lot of people are asking, about certain things that are not in the data. So now you have real data about which data you should prioritize, right? So that's how we use it.
Really cool use case. That's a really cool use case.
Cool.
I will note that in my head. Nice. Okay.
We have time for one more question. Somebody in the chat. Oh, there is a question. The question from Andre is there any link or inclusion of unstructured text possible?
Mm-hmm.
For example, from a knowledge base, wiki pages, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So he's asking about unstructured text.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you. We do allow some kinds of processing on top of unstructured data. So if you have, for instance, comments, or if you have some description, you can do some kinds of analysis on top of it, like looking for certain words. We don't, it's funny, we are a natural language processing company, but we're mostly analyzing structured data. So that's really our focus. So we still, in some sense, we offer some things, but it's we don't do any kind of sentiment analysis on your data. So this is something that you would need to do, for instance, on your own and structured before having it Veezoo, right? Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your answer, JP. Some closing thoughts before we introduce the next speaker.
I would say, I think data democratization is such an important topic that I think, we should really think about it actively on how can make it access information, because great things can happen when people have more information in their daily lives. So, and if you're interested, just contact me, jp@veezoo.com, and let's have a chat.